Hello, everyone. Welcome back to English in Minutes. I'm Natasha, and today we're going to talk about one of the most common challenges English learners face, forgetting the words you've learned. You probably know that frustrating feeling when you learn a new word, use it once or twice, and then, the next time you want to use it, your mind just goes blank. You know you've seen it before. You can almost picture it, but it just won't come to your tongue. In this lesson, I'm going to help you change that. We will explore simple, powerful ways to make English words stay in your memory so well that you can use them naturally in daily conversations without hesitation. This is not just about memorizing lists. It's about creating strong mental connections so the words become a part of your thinking. We'll also do practice exercises together so you can reinforce what you learn right here. While listening, imagine your brain as a big library. Every word you learn is like a book placed on a shelf. If you just put the book there and never open it again, it will get dusty and forgotten. But if you keep picking it up, flipping through it, and connecting it to other books you've read, it will become familiar. That's what we're going to do with English words. The more you use them in real life, the harder it becomes to forget them. I will guide you through creating habits that make your brain remember without forcing it. First, let's understand why we forget words. It's not because your brain is bad at remembering. It's because our brains naturally focus on what's important and used often. If a word doesn't appear often in your daily conversations or reading, your brain treats it as less important. This is why it's so easy to remember common words like coffee, door, or tomorrow. You use them all the time, but more advanced words like delighted, reluctant, or generous can fade away if they're not used regularly. Our goal is to make every new word you learn feel as common as the word coffee in your daily life. Here's a quick practice example before we go deeper. Let's take the word generous. Repeat after me slowly. Generous. Now, think of a real example from your life where you can use this word. Maybe you can say, "My friend was very generous. She gave me a beautiful gift." Or, "The waiter was generous with the portions." Say these sentences out loud. If you make 2 or 3 personal examples like this every time you learn a new word, it will stay in your memory longer. Now, let's take another example. Reluctant. This means not wanting to do something. Try saying, "I was reluctant to wake up early this morning." Or, "He was reluctant to try the new dish." Again, connect the word to a real situation in your life. When you link new words to your own experiences, your brain keeps them because they become personal. To make this even stronger, we will combine repetition with imagination. When you hear a new word, imagine a little movie in your mind about it. For example, for the word delighted, imagine yourself opening a gift you really wanted and feeling so happy. The more colorful and emotional the image, the better your brain will remember. This is because your memory loves pictures and emotions. Let's try this together as a mini exercise. The word is astonished, which means very surprised. Close your eyes for a second and imagine you open your front door. And there's a giant balloon shaped like a dinosaur in front of your house. You didn't expect it at all, and you feel completely astonished. Now, repeat the word astonished and say a sentence. I was astonished when I saw the surprise party. By doing this, you're not only hearing the word, you're feeling it and seeing it in your imagination, which makes it much harder to forget. We'll also use spaced repetition to make words stick. This means, instead of reviewing a word over and over in one day, you revisit it several times over days or weeks. For example, if you learn the word relieved today, use it in a sentence tonight. Write it in a short story tomorrow and mention it in a conversation next week. Each time you return to it, you're telling your brain, this word is important. Keep it. Before we continue with more methods and exercises, let's do a quick short story practice. I'll tell you a short story with some new words, and your job is to repeat the sentences and try to remember the words in them. Here's the story. Last Saturday, I was reluctant to go to the park because it was raining. But my generous neighbor invited me to join her family for a picnic under a big tent. When I saw the delicious food she had prepared, I was astonished. We spent the afternoon laughing, and I felt truly delighted to be here. Now, try to recall the 4 words: reluctant, generous, astonished, delighted. Say them out loud. Then try to use each in your own sentence. If we keep building this habit of hearing, repeating, imagining, and using, you will find that forgetting words becomes rare. Your English vocabulary will not only grow, but also stay alive in your mind, ready to be used naturally. In any conversation. Another important thing to understand about remembering English words is that your brain works best when it connects information to feelings, actions, and real experiences. If you only try to memorize a list of words, your brain treats them like random data, and random data is easy to forget. But when you connect each word to something you've seen, done, or felt, you give it meaning, and meaning is what helps the brain store it for the long term. For example, if you learn the word exhausted, don't just think of it as very tired. Instead, remember a specific day when you walked for hours in the sun, or when you stayed up late finishing a project, and you could barely keep your eyes open. Picture that moment and say, I was exhausted. The feeling will help you keep the word in your memory without much effort. Let's make a quick exercise together. I will give you 3 words: curious, frustrated, and proud. I want you to pause for a moment after each word. Think about a real moment from your life that matches it, and say a sentence out loud. Curious could be when you saw a new shop in your neighborhood and wanted to know what was inside. Frustrated could be when your phone battery died right in the middle of an important call. Proud could be when you finished a difficult task at work or passed an important test. By doing this, you are not only learning the word, you are storing it in a special place in your memory linked to your emotions. Another reason people forget words is that they try to keep them locked inside notebooks instead of putting them into real-life use. Writing words down is helpful, but it is not enough on its own. You have to speak them, hear them, and use them in natural sentences. If you learn the word optimistic today, don't just write it down. Use it when talking to a friend. I'm feeling optimistic about our plans this weekend. Or send it in a text message. The more situations you use it in, the more your brain will believe it's important and worth keeping. Let's practice with a little conversation exercise. I will give you a short dialogue, and I want you to repeat it after me, and imagine you are actually having this conversation. A. How do you feel about the exam tomorrow? B. I'm feeling optimistic. I studied hard. A. That's great. I'm sure you'll do well. This type of practice, even if you do it alone, helps make words feel natural in your mouth and easier to recall later. Another great way to never forget English words is to group them into themes or situations instead of learning them randomly. Our brain likes order and patterns. For example, if you are learning words about feelings, learn several together: happy, delighted, joyful, proud, content. Practice them in one short story, like, I was proud of my friend because she passed her driving test. She was so delighted that she invited me to celebrate. We both felt happy and content the whole evening. When you group words like this, remembering one will often help you remember the others. Now, let's do another mini story exercise for practice. Listen carefully and repeat after me. It was a rainy Sunday morning, and I felt a little bored. Then my best friend called and said she had a surprise for me. I was curious and excited, so I quickly got ready. When I saw her standing outside with 2 tickets to my favorite concert, I was astonished. The whole night, we sang along to the music, and I felt so joyful and grateful. In this story, the new words are bored, curious, astonished, joyful, and grateful. Repeat them slowly, then try to make your own short sentences with each one. One more secret to keeping words in your memory is to connect them to more than one sense. We often just read or hear a word, but you can also connect it to something you see, smell, taste, or touch. For example, for the word fresh, think about the smell of fresh bread in the morning, the taste of fresh fruit, or the feeling of fresh clothes just out of the dryer. The richer the experience, the more your brain will store it. Let's practice with this sensory memory technique. The word is crisp. Imagine holding a crisp apple in your hand. Feel the smooth skin. Hear the crunch when you bite it, and taste the sweetness. Now say, this apple is crisp and delicious. This way, you're building a strong memory of the word by linking it to more than one sense, which makes it harder to forget. I will also encourage you to practice what I call shadow recall. This means recalling the word quickly, right after hearing it, and then again after some time. For example, I'll give you 5 words now: generous, reluctant, astonished, optimistic, curious. Repeat them now, then continue listening to me for a few minutes, and later I will ask you to say them again from memory. This active recalling strengthens the word in your brain. Before we move forward, here's a quick daily life example you can try today. Choose one new word you learned from this video so far and use it at least 3 times in the next few hours. You can say it to yourself, write it in a message, or use it in a conversation. For example, if you choose optimistic, you can say, I'm optimistic about my English learning. Then later, I'm optimistic about the weather tomorrow. And at night, I feel optimistic that I will remember the new words I learned today. This repeated use in real contexts is exactly what makes the difference between forgetting and remembering. Another thing that will help you never forget English words is connecting them to your daily routines in a natural way. Many learners make the mistake of separating their English learning from their real life. They study words at one time of the day, and then they go about their life speaking in their native language the rest of the time. The problem is, your brain sees English as something that only belongs to that small study time. So the words don't become part of your active vocabulary. Instead, you should bring English into small moments throughout your day. For example, when you wake up in the morning, you can name the objects you see around you in English. When you make breakfast, describe what you're doing in English. I'm slicing bread. I'm pouring milk. I'm boiling water. Even if you say these things in your head, they still help your brain strengthen the words. Let's try a short practice. Imagine you are making tea in the morning. Repeat after me. I fill the kettle with water. I turn on the stove. The water starts to boil. I put a tea bag in the cup. I pour the hot water. I add some sugar. I stir it. The tea smells fresh and warm. You just practiced common action verbs and daily life words without even opening a textbook. If you make this a habit, you'll find it hard to forget the words you use every day. Another technique is to use memory chains. This means connecting one new word to several related words or situations, so they form a chain in your mind. For example, if you learn the word cozy, you can link it to warm blanket, soft pillow, quiet evening, hot chocolate, fireplace. Each time you remember one, it will trigger the others. Let's practice this. Think of the word adventure and connect it to 5 related words: travel, explore, discover, mountains, journey. Now, make a sentence with all of them. I love to travel and explore new places because I always discover something exciting during the journey in the mountains. This chain of connections will make it easier to recall adventure when you need it. Sometimes, the reason we forget words is that we only practice them in their basic form, but using them in different forms and tenses makes them more memorable. For example, if you learn the verb to inspire, try saying, I inspire my friends. She inspires me. They were inspired by the story. I will inspire others. By practicing different forms, you give your brain more pathways to find the word later. Let's do a small verb practice. The verb is to relax. Say these sentences with me. I relax after work. She relaxes with a book. We relaxed at the beach. I will relax this weekend. This exercise doesn't just teach you the word, it makes it part of your active language in different situations. Another very effective method is teaching the word to someone else, even if that someone is just your mirror. If you explain the meaning of a new word and give examples out loud, your brain processes it more deeply because you are using it actively, not passively. For example, you could learn the word generous and then explain to yourself in English. Generous means giving to others without expecting anything back. For example, my neighbor was generous when she shared her vegetables with me. Teaching forces you to recall the meaning and form the sentences. which strengthens memory. Here's a fun little story practice for you. Listen, and then try to repeat it in your own words. Yesterday, I met a generous old man at the park. He was feeding the birds with bread he had brought from home. I was curious and asked him why he did it every day. He smiled and said it made him happy to share what he had. I was inspired by his kindness and decided to bring food for the birds myself next time. In this short story, we used generous, curious, and inspire. See if you can retell the story using those words, even if you change the details. This will help the words settle in your memory. Finally, remember, the brain likes a little challenge. If everything is too easy, it won't try to remember much. That's why I recommend speaking or writing without looking at your notes, even if you forget some words. This struggle actually strengthens memory. For example, try telling a short story about your last weekend, using 5 new words you learned recently. Don't worry if you pause to think. That pause means your brain is working hard to recall the words, and that's exactly what makes them stick. Another very powerful way to never forget English words is to create what I call word stories in your mind. This is where you take one word and build a small personal story around it. The story can be realistic or even silly. It doesn't matter. What matters is that it is memorable. For example, if the word is confident, imagine yourself walking into a job interview, wearing your best clothes, smiling, and speaking clearly. You leave the room feeling proud and sure of yourself. That feeling of success becomes linked to the word confident, so you will remember it easily. The more emotional and unusual your story, the stronger your memory will be. Let's try one together. The word is awkward. Imagine you are at a dinner party, and someone asks you a very personal question in front of everyone. You don't know how to answer, and the room becomes quiet. You laugh nervously and try to change the topic. That uncomfortable feeling is awkward. Now say it. Awkward. Use it in a sentence. It was awkward when I forgot my friend's name. By combining the word with a strong image and feeling, it becomes harder to forget. Another technique is association chaining, where you connect the new word to something you already know well. For example, the word fragile means easily broken. You might think of a glass cup in your kitchen. Every time you hear or see the word fragile, you picture that cup. Or maybe you've remember a package you received that had the word fragile printed on it. These little mental shortcuts give your brain quick access to the meaning. Now, let's do a short daily life recall drill. I'll say a short story with some words we've learned, and you try to recall them after hearing it. Last week, I ordered a beautiful vase online. When it arrived, the box had a big red label that said fragile. I carefully opened it, but I was awkward and dropped the bubble wrap on the floor. Luckily, the vase was safe. I felt relieved and confident placing it on my table. The key words here were fragile, awkward, relieved, and confident. Say them now, without looking back. This quick recall builds strong memory. Another thing that works surprisingly well is using the word in different types of sentences: positive, negative, and questions. If the word is patient, you can say, I am patient with my little brother. Positive, I am not patient when I'm hungry. Negative, are you patient when you wait in line? Question. By using the same word in 3 different ways, you give your brain multiple paths to find it later. Let's practice with the word generous. Positive, my aunt is generous with her time. Negative, I'm not generous with my favorite snacks. Question, are you generous when you tip at restaurants? Repeat each sentence and then make your own. This type of flexible usage makes your vocabulary more active. It's also important to realize that your memory works better when you review words just before you might forget them. This is called spaced repetition. Instead of reviewing a word 10 times in one day, review it once today, again tomorrow, then 3 days later, then a week later. Each time you bring it back into your mind, you are strengthening the memory link. If you keep doing this, the word becomes part of your permanent vocabulary. Let's test your recall now. Earlier in this video, we learned words like curious, astonished, optimistic, delighted, reluctant. Without looking back, try to say a sentence for each one. If you can do it, that means your brain is already creating strong connections. If you struggle, that's okay. It means you need to revisit those words later today or tomorrow. Another creative way to keep words in memory is to act them out. This is especially useful for action verbs or words related to emotions. For example, if the word is exhausted, you can physically show yourself sitting down with a big sigh. If the word is excited, you can smile widely and clap your hands. Movement adds another layer of memory to the word. Let's try with relieved. Stand or sit comfortably. Then imagine you just finished a stressful exam. Take a deep breath, smile, and say, I feel relieved. That physical movement will help your brain store the word alongside the action. I also recommend mixing new words with old ones in the same practice session. Many learners practice only the latest words they've learned, but by mixing them with older ones, you make sure they all stay fresh. For example, if today you learned generous, fragile, and confident, try to mix them into a story with older words you already know, like happy, run, and big. You might say, the generous man gave a big gift to his friend. It was a fragile glass lamp. She was happy and confident that she could take care of it. Later, she had to run home quickly because it started raining. Before we finish this section, let's do one more active recall challenge. I will describe a situation, and you try to think of the best word for it. From what we've practiced, you drop your phone, and the screen breaks easily. What's the word? Answer. Fragile. You finally receive good news. After waiting all day, how do you feel? Answer. Relieved. You meet someone who gives without expecting anything in return. How do you describe them? Answer. Generous. You see something so surprising that you can't believe your eyes. What's the word? Answer: astonished. This exercise makes your brain work to find the right word, which strengthens memory. Another habit that will make you remember English words for a lifetime is talking to yourself in English throughout the day. Many learners think they can only practice when speaking to another person, but actually, self-talk is one of the most powerful tools you have. It forces you to think of words in the moment, just like in a real conversation. For example, when you're walking to the bus stop, you might say to yourself, "I'm walking past the bakery. The smell is fresh and sweet. I see a man carrying an umbrella. The sky looks cloudy." You're not only practicing sentences, but also keeping common and new words active in your mind. Let's practice together. Imagine you're cooking dinner. Say these sentences with me. I wash the vegetables. I chop the onions. I fry the chicken in the pan. The oil is sizzling. The smell is delicious. I sprinkle salt and pepper. If you make a habit of describing what you're doing out loud, you'll be surprised how quickly words stop disappearing from your memory. Another way to strengthen your vocabulary is to create personal challenges. For example, choose one word you learned today and try to use it in at least 5 different situations during the day. Let's take the word astonished. In the morning, you could say, "I was astonished to see how sunny it is today." Later, "I was astonished by how quickly my coffee cooled down." In the afternoon, "I'm astonished that the bus is on time." In the evening, "I was astonished by the taste of this dessert." At night, "I'm astonished that I finished all my work early." By repeating it in new situations, you teach your brain that this word is important and useful. It's also helpful to use questions with your new words because questions make you think from a different angle. For example, if the new word is optimistic, you can ask, "Why are you optimistic about the meeting?" Or, "When was the last time you felt optimistic?" Making questions forces your brain to use the word actively, instead of just recognizing it passively. Let's do a question drill together. The word is curious. Ask yourself, what are you curious about today? The word is generous. Ask, who is the most generous person you know? The word is reluctant. Ask, when were you reluctant to do something? These little self-made questions are great for reviewing words without feeling like you're studying. Another strong technique is what I call context swapping. This means taking a word you've learned in one story or example and using it in a completely different situation. For example, if you first learned the word cozy to describe a room, now try using it to describe clothing. This sweater is cozy. Or to describe a feeling. I feel cozy sitting by the fire. By moving the word into new contexts, you make it more flexible and harder to forget. Let's try a context swap exercise. The word is proud. In one context, I'm proud of my team for winning the match. In another context, I'm proud of myself for cooking a new recipe. And in another, she is proud of her artwork. Now choose a word you've learned today and give it 3 different situations. Here's another daily life practice. Use your phone in English. Change your settings, read your messages, or write short notes in English. Every time you see a word you want to remember, say it out loud and make a sentence with it. If the word is update, you might say, I need to update my phone. And later, let me update my calendar. Seeing and using the word naturally throughout the day gives it a permanent place in your vocabulary. Before we finish this section, let's do a story-based exercise. Using several words we've worked on, repeat after me. Last Saturday, I was reluctant to leave my house because it was raining heavily, but my generous neighbor offered to give me a ride to the library. When we arrived, I was astonished to see a famous author giving a talk. I was curious about his new book, so I stayed to listen. By the end, I felt proud that I had gone out despite the rain. Now, without looking back, try to list the 5 key words: reluctant, generous, astonished, curious, proud. Then use each in a sentence of your own. This is how you transform passive vocabulary into active vocabulary. Another memory-strengthening habit is linking your new English words to your daily emotions. Words connected to strong feelings are stored more deeply in the brain. For example, if you learn the word thrilled, think of a real moment when you felt extremely happy, maybe when you got good news, visited your favorite place, or met someone special. Replay that memory in detail while saying, I was thrilled. If the feeling is strong enough, the word will stick naturally. Let's do this together with a few words. The first word is grateful. Think of a time when someone helped you unexpectedly. Picture their face, remember your feelings, and say, I felt grateful. The second word is nervous. Imagine standing in front of a big audience, about to give a speech, feel your heart beating faster, and say, I was nervous. The third word is relieved. Remember the feeling when you realized something bad was not going to happen after all, and say, I felt relieved. Connecting words to real emotions is like giving them glue in your brain. They just stick. You can also strengthen memory by creating short challenges for yourself. For example, pick 5 new words you learned this week and try to use all of them in one paragraph or conversation, even if the sentence does sound a bit funny. The challenge will make your brain more active. Let's try one together with the words optimistic, generous, astonished, proud, and curious. Here's my example. I'm optimistic about the charity event tomorrow because my generous friends are coming. Last year, I was astonished at how many people joined. I was proud to be part of it, and I'm curious to see what surprises will happen this time. Now, pause and make your own paragraph with these 5 words. Another great trick is revisiting words right before going to bed, and again right after waking up. Research shows that our brains process and store information better during sleep, so reviewing at night is like planting seeds, and reviewing in the morning is like watering them. For example, if you learned delighted and fragile today, say them out loud before sleeping. Recall your example sentences, and then repeat the process when you wake up. You'll be amazed at how much stronger your memory becomes. Here's a fun, quick game you can play anytime: the 5 sentences game. Choose one new word and make 5 different sentences using it in 5 different ways. Let's take astonished. Sentence 1. I was astonished by the magician's trick. Sentence 2. She looked astonished when she heard the news. Sentence 3. He astonished everyone with his singing. Sentence 4. It was astonishing to see the mountain view. Sentence 5. Nothing astonishes me anymore. This level of variety ensures the word becomes flexible in your mind. And finally, remember that the key to never forgetting English words is a mix of repetition, connection, and active use. Repetition keeps the word fresh. Connection ties it to your real life and emotions. And active use makes it part of your natural speech. If you only repeat but never use, the word will fade. If you only connect but never repeat, the word will lose sharpness. But when you do all three, repeat, connect, and use, you create a strong foundation for your vocabulary. Let's close with one final practice story. To bring everything together, repeat after me. One sunny morning, I woke up feeling optimistic. I had a meeting with my generous mentor, who always shares the best advice. On my way, I was astonished to see a street musician playing my favorite song. I felt curious, so I stopped to listen. After our meeting, I was proud of how I had expressed my ideas clearly. Later that night, I felt grateful for the wonderful day and relieved that everything had gone well. Now, try to recall the 7 key words from that story: optimistic, generous, astonished, curious, proud, grateful, relieved. See if you can make your own story with all of them. If you make these habits part of your daily routine, speaking to yourself in English, creating personal stories, linking words to emotions, using them in different contexts, and revisiting them over time, you'll find that forgetting English words becomes a thing of the past. Your vocabulary will not only grow, but also stay active and ready whenever you need it. So keep practicing, keep connecting, and most importantly, keep enjoying the process. The more fun and personal your English learning becomes, the more your brain will love to remember every single word you learn. And that's all for today's lesson. If you found these tips helpful, make sure to give this video a thumbs up so more learners can find it. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next lesson. This is Natasha, wishing you happy learning, and I'll see you in the next video.